Alright, recording is started. So, welcome guys. Just want to make a quick video for our gunners, and for our commanders too, but just generally anyone who needs the information about where to shoot to kill some of our targets. As you guys heard, we have an upcoming battle in which most likely combat will be done with tier 4 vehicles and below. So that being said, we found it necessary to give you guys some information regarding tier 4 vehicles, specifically the Russian ones, and where you should be shooting to kill these things. So I just want to go over the anatomy. Up here at our spawn, as you can see, we have a T80 fully upgraded and a T90 type fully upgraded. And these are some of the tanks you can expect to encounter at Tier 4 for this next upcoming battle. And I just want to go over some things real quick. So if I pull up my repair kit here, we can show the anatomy. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn everything off so you can see the ammo. So this is where the ammo is located on the T80. As you can see, most Russian tanks all have something called a carousel autoloader. So it is this like vertical ammo placed mechanism that rotates and autoloads the gun for them. A lot of Russian tanks also have an additional hull ammo. In this case, the T80 has like a hull ammo sitting to the front and to the right, which if you're facing a T80 is going to be on the left. So there are two ammos that can be destroyed. Now, most Russian tanks, outside of some of the very modern ones, do not have a blowout panel for any of their carousel ammo racks, with the exception of, I think, the T14 or the Object 195, but I may be wrong there. But at least at Tier 4, almost none of the tanks have a blowout for the carousel autoloader. So killing this ammo carousel rack here is going to be an instant kill on almost any Russian tank. Additionally, hitting the hull ammo is also an instant kill. So that is the T80 for you. Now if we go on to a slightly more modern T90, you see it has a lot more ammo. It also has a carousel autoloader, but this ammo is not vertical. The ammo on the T90 is kind of more horizontally placed, with some additional ammo in the rear and in the turret. Now, you'll find that some Russian tanks like the T90 and similar types have ammo in the turret. However, some of them actually do have blowouts. So it is not optimal to aim for the turret of a T90. Don't think of it like the Abrams tank. Just general rule for all Russian tanks is you're going to hold the shot somewhere center mass and lower in the hull. So, with that out of the way, I just want to go ahead and talk about where you should be aiming on some of these. So, set down range, we have a few targets. I'm going to go ahead and hop in the gunner seat. And I'm also going to be demonstrating how to use joystick mode. That's going to be an additional thing in this video. So, way down up ahead, we have the side profile of a Russian tank, which is this one right here. Going to lock that. And where you should be holding on this is right about there. So, any shot where I'm moving the gun sight is going to basically ensure a one tap. Again, you don't want to aim for the turret. So for all Russian tanks, you really want to have a whole shot. The turret is the biggest strength of the Russian tanks. Even the front plate can be incredibly difficult to penetrate at Tier 4, and on some of the higher tier tanks, you're just not penetrating the front plate. So if you have a side profile on a Russian tank, you always want to aim for the hole anywhere where I'm aiming right now. Now, if you have a frontal profile, there are two weak spots that you want to really go for. That is the driver's manlet, the driver's hatch, which is going to be always dead center on the tank. So dead center and right under the turret ring. So it's going to be right there. And I'm going to turn on thermals so you can see where I'm holding on thermals. It is right there. Just basically find the gun, or not the gun rather, because the turret can be facing a different direction. But you want to center, dead center on the tank and under where the turret ring is. And that is the driver's hatch. And that is the same on almost all Russian tanks at this tier. All T90, T80 types. The second weak spot is going to be the lower front plate, which I'm holding there now. And it's going to be right there. That is the lower front plate, which is very penetrable, and that will ensure an ammo rack shot as well. With the driver's hatch, you can almost always get an ammo rack or a full crew kill. Now, that aside, there is another thing to note, which is upper front plate. Now, with most of these Russian tanks, upper front plates are penetrable, but not with ERA. Most of the time with your APFSD round, the ERA will eat it, so it's not advisable to go for the front plate. it is still possible to pen, but after 2 shots. Your first shot's going to knock out the ERA, and only assuming you manage to hit the tank in the exact same spot where that ERA is now gone will you penetrate the upper front plate. So it's not really advisable. But if that's the only thing that you see of their enemy tank and their hull down, then sometimes you might have to, if the driver's hatch is for some reason not an option, assuming you have like a really bad angle on it. Now, moving on to joystick mode. As you guys know, there is a lead function that I want to talk about. Stationary targets are pretty easy to hit. You just lock and shoot. Make sure you're locking with the button N. Additionally, you can also range with V. You can auto range by pressing V as normal. But for our purposes, you almost always want to lock a target. And something I want to note about locking a target, as you can see right now, I'm aiming at the tip of the upper front plate of this tank in front of me, and the range reads 1067. But if I move up to the driver's hatch, it's now to 1068. So what happens in lock mode is it continuously and infinitely automatically lasers wherever your gun is. That's helpful because if you're aiming at different parts of the tank, it'll auto range that part of the tank for you. So you always want to be using the lock mechanism. Now, I'm going to just demonstrate some kill shots on some of these tanks. So for the first tank right here, up front, we're going to hold exactly where I mentioned earlier for a hull ammo shot on the way. Target sees fire. Now we'll switch the tank to the right. We'll go for a driver's hatch shot as soon as this APFSDS round loads. And on the way. That was an ERA shot. It was a little low. So as you can see, it's going to eat that ERA that first round, and I'll actually try to shoot it in the same exact spot and see if I can pen the upper front plate. Yep, that's upper front plate, and we'll retry that on this tank over here that's actually like perfectly angled, it seems. We'll go for another driver's hatch shot. And on the way. Too high. Two seconds, and on the way. Target, there's driver's hatch. And we'll do one more lower front plate just to demonstrate that. You want to hold really low on these. Target, and target's fire. Alright, so real quick, for my test zombies down there who are in the tanks and ready to move, can one of you just move real quick so I can see which one you are?
You mind repeating?
Could you move one of your tanks down there just so I can see which one you are?
Moving it now.
Do not see. There we go. Okay, so I just want you to move perpendicular to me, directly, basically like 1, 9, or 0. Alright, and just keep it first gear for now. First gear. Or second. I don't want you to go too fast, just for demonstration purposes, so that we can track you easily. So go ahead and keep moving. Thank you. So we have a moving target. We're going to lock him. And if I'm not touching anything at all, my hands are completely off the controls, the turret is going to try to stay with him the entire time, and it's going to try to keep it in the same spot. Alright. Now, I'm going to start moving my gun barrel. If I were to shoot right now, let me just aim at the back of his tank so we can ensure a miss because the APFSDS is pretty fast. You can turn around and go the other way now, actually. And you can ramp it up to maximum speed. I'm just going to demonstrate a miss. So if you do not have lead on and you're holding on this tank, go as fast as you can. I'm just going to hold on the engine block, for example, and I shoot now. That's going to miss right behind him. Someone in my gunner seat? Is there a reason I can't load APFSDS? Bustle might be out. Yep. So, if you do not have the lead function on, you're going to get no auto lead, and your round's almost always going to miss short. Now, something to note about how the lead function works is it uses the auto range, and it also uses the line of sight rate of your turret. So what that means is it basically takes the range of the target that's continuously being lased, plus the rate at which your turret is traversing. So, technically you don't even need to lock a target to use lead, because again it uses line of sight rate. So if you could start moving again. I see you. So I'm not going to lock him this time, I'm just going to put on lead, but I'm going to hold a steady pace. So see, I'm matching his movement here with the gun, and if I hold that and I shoot, oop, little over, I went too far. Turn around, go the other way. Oh, you were also decelerating. I just realized that. That's something I should note. If you're decelerating, if your target is accelerating, you're gonna have to wait for them to kind of level at a constant speed. But anyways, let's range him here. Matches speed and on the way. Oh, unloaded. One moment. Can I get a loader over here, actually? Since one of you guys is free, Trooper, I don't know if you're free.
Turning around, coming in at 55 miles per hour.
Thank you. Let's just get you in loader here. Load save it, please. Thank you. So we'll auto range him again. If you're not going to use the lock, you're going to have to auto range, but just demonstrating. And on the way. Target. And that was with lead. And again, that works because we're matching his movement speed. Now, of course, if you lock the target, that is done automatically. So again, always lock the target, please. But I just want to demonstrate that it is possible to do it without. And also that it's using specifically the line of sight rate of the turret, which is the rate at which your turret is traversing. Why is that important? We'll talk about that in a second when we get over like what's going to happen with obstructions, because obstructions are your biggest enemy if you're using joystick mode. So if Sammy, you could just grab another tank, run down there. That'd be
5.2.
something else I want to note about
Some shit
joystick
like
mode
that.
is you don't want to make massive adjustments on the target. Once you find where you want to shoot, then you press lead and then you shoot. And you only turn it on the moment before you shoot, and then you turn it back off right after. And the reason you do that is because if you make rapid adjustments while in lead, thank you, Sammy, by the way. I'm going to demonstrate on the stationary tank that is in front of us, but just imagine this guy was moving. If I had lead on, and I want you to watch the gun, I'm going to zoom all the way out. And if I turn right quickly, you see how it kind of does that? It's going to overcompensate. If the target's already moving, it's going to automatically be leading. But if you then move your gun more, you're changing the line of sight rate. You're changing the line of sight rate of the turret, which is already matching the target's movement. So for example, if I'm in lead mode with it on, and I'm pointing at the back of the tank right now, and the tank, imagine, is moving to our right, and they then suddenly move all the way to the front of the tank, and I shoot as I'm moving, I'm going to miss because I've changed the line of sight rate of the turret. So what you want to do again is you want to lock the target, put the gun on the target wherever you want to hit it, turn on lead, fire, turn it back off. And that's going to ensure a kill almost every single time. So we're just going to pop this tank. Alright, Sammy, thank you very much for that little demonstration there. Let me just double think. Is there anything else we need to go over in regards to these tanks? That should be all for lead mode again. Lock, put the pipper on the target, lead, fire, turn it back off. Oh yes, I did have to go over one more thing. Sammy, if you can, grab another tank and just like get in front of us. Like I want you to
I got it.
obstruct my vision purposely. Not like
You want it to be an eagle or hawk?
get a little jeep. Get a little jeep. Something about lead mode again or lock mode is that it will lock whatever you're pointing at. Now the lock just keeps it on the target. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to auto range that thing. So as you can see, if I move my gun down away from the target, the range is going to decrease, and it's going to auto range whatever I'm looking at. So you do still need that pipper on the target. That being said, the biggest annoyance in combat and the biggest practical tip I can give you is avoid trees and wait for a clean shot. Um, so yeah, you can stay right there, Sammy, for a moment. That's fine. So say we have a target here, right? Like this tank. Pretend he was moving to the right, like this, okay? And say I'm tracking him, and let's say this Jeep right here is a single tree, all right? And you'll see what I mean. So as you can see the range, I'm gonna keep it on the ground actually, that we can get a constant range roughly. So the range is in the 700s, 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 700s. Oh, what did you do, Sammy? Why did your suspension just drop?
Probably a bug.
Hop back in driver. Thank you, stay in that. So, gonna auto lock again. We're maintaining 700, 700, 700, 700, 700, and then all of a sudden a tree decides to obstruct our vision. And boom, now we're down to 89 range. And if I were to shoot now, I would wildly miss the target and expose my position. And then once we come off the tree, it's back to 700, 700, 700. So in combat, what this ends up looking like is you have a target that's in the open, and right as you're about to shoot, of course, he crosses behind a tree. And you've got lead on, and everything else is perfect. But as soon as you cross the side of that tree, that range is fucked up, and then you shoot, and it goes nowhere where you intended it to. So that is a pretty common problem, believe it or not. Sometimes the trees are directly in front of your tank. Sometimes the trees are farther out in front of the target. And it doesn't have to be very much separation, but it does happen nonetheless. So that said, you want to wait for a clear opening. You need to, at the very least, if you're shooting into a forest, try to wait for the watch the range, right? If you know the range when you originally lays the target roughly, and try to wait for there not to be a tree in the way, and then shoot. Otherwise, you're gonna fuck up your shot. The only other pro tip I guess I could say is if you have a 50 cal, which you will, clear trees. Make an effort to clear trees around your fighting position so that um, you're not obstructed close by at least. If you're going to be obstructed far away is acceptable. That doesn't mean shoot down trees that are across the map and give everyone your position by showing where the tracers are coming from. But that does mean in general to just be mindful of your environment around you when using this mode. So yeah, that's all I got for you. Um, Other than that, drivers, be wary of trees as well. And I hope that this hopefully helps you get better at killing Russian tanks. Much obliged.